Welcome to This Explainer. I am so incredibly thrilled you're hanging out with us today. We're going to tackle something that honestly feels a little bit like magic once you get it working. We are talking about taking your MERN Stack app and breaking it entirely out of the confines of your computer screen and getting it right onto your local area network. If you've ever built something really amazing but, struggled to just show it to someone sitting right next to you in the exact same room, well, this is exactly what you need.
Man, we've all been there, right? You spend hours, maybe even days, just totally perfecting a MERN Stack application. It runs flawlessly on your local machine, but the very second you try to pull it up on your smartphone, maybe just to see how the layout looks on mobile, you get hit with that completely dreaded cannot connect error. It is incredibly frustrating. So, why does your app only work on your PC? Let's fix that.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our game plan for today. We'll start with breaking out of Localhost, then move into Phase 1, which is network identity. After that, Phase 2 covering the backend, Phase 3 on the front end, and finally, Phase 4, firewalls and launch. Basically, we'll be walking through our 10 steps for MERN setup to get everything running perfectly across your devices. All right, kicking things off with breaking out of Localhost.
So right now, your local host is basically like talking to yourself in an empty room. To open the door and let the rest of the network in, let's quickly review the core prerequisites for our 10 steps for MERN setup. You're going to need a Windows PC, Node.js, MongoDB, your React front end, and your Express backend. But listen, here is the absolute most critical part of this whole thing. Both of your devices must be connected to the exact same Wi-Fi network. Seriously, a cell data plan on your phone is not going to work for this.
Moving right along to Phase 1, network identity. Okay, before we can invite guests over to our party, they kind of need to know where the house is, right? That is your IPv4 address. This string of numbers is essentially the unique identifier for your computer on your specific network. Just open up your command prompt, type in ipconfig, hit enter, and scan down until you find the IPv4 address. Write this down or copy it, because you'll definitely need it throughout the rest of this explainer.
And that brings us perfectly to the first couple phases of our 10 steps for MERN setup. Step 1 is exactly what we just did, finding that local IP address. Step 2 is securing your database foundation. You just need to start MongoDB locally or just ensure that the service is actually running in the background.
Now we enter Phase 2, the backend.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that up until now, your backend has been totally locked away. When you write your Express server code, you might be super tempted to restrict it by binding it to localhost. Do not do that. Instead, you always want to use 0.0.0.0. This one simple little instruction basically kicks the doors wide open, telling your backend to listen on all available network interfaces, which actually allows that incoming traffic from other devices.
But wait, hold on a second. Before you go rushing to start that server, you absolutely have to remember to enable CORS. That stands for Cross-Origin Resource Sharing. Because we're opening things up to the network now, your backend needs explicit permission to accept requests from your newly networked frontend. Honestly, it's incredibly easy to do. Just install it using npm i-cors and then add app.use-cors right into your Express configuration. If you skip this step, your browser is going to block the connection for security reasons and nothing will work.
To summarize our backend setup, here are steps 3, 4, and 5 of our overall 10-step process. Step 3, configure Express to use 0.0.0.0. Step 4, enable CORS so your apps can safely talk to each other. And Step 5, just start the backend server up exactly like you normally would. Once it's running, you can actually verify it. Just grab your smartphone, make sure it's on the same Wi-Fi, and type your computer's IP address followed by a colon and your backend port right into the mobile browser. If the page loads, well, congratulations, your backend is officially open for business.
All right, let's shift our focus over to Phase 3, the front end.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next move. Our backend is waiting for visitors, so we need to print the actual invitations with the correct address. In your React code, you need to hunt down every single API call. Any place your front end says localhost, you got to replace it with the IPv4 address we grabbed back in step 1. So your Axios request changes to something like 192.168.1.5/5000. Listen, if you miss even one of these, that specific feature is going to break when you test it on your phone.
Continuing right along with our 10 steps for MERN setup, Step 6 is executing that crucial IP replacement across your entire front-end code. Step 7 is running the application itself. Now, if you're using Vite, this is super important. You must add the -host flag in your terminal to actually expose the server to the network. If you're using Create React app, you can handle this by configuring your .env file.
We have officially reached the final stretch with Phase 4, Firewalls and Launch. Okay, so our doors are open and the invitations are out. But a super strict bouncer might still be blocking the entrance. I'm talking about the Windows Defender Firewall. By default, it's designed to block outside traffic. We need to tell this bouncer that Node.js is on the VIP list. So, open up your firewall settings. Click Allow an app through Firewall. Scroll down to locate Node.js and just make sure to check the boxes for private and optionally public networks.
And that completes our 10-step journey. Step 8 was properly allowing Node.js through that firewall so the traffic can actually flow. Step 9, go ahead and grab your phone, a tablet, or just another laptop, connect it to that shared Wi-Fi, and open your browser using your PC's IP address and the correct front-end port. And finally, step 10 is the victory lap. Verify that both the front-end visual interface and the back-end database calls are fully 100% accessible over your local network.
Just to make this whole thing effortless for you, here's a quick final URL cheat sheet based on whatever tech stack you happen to be using. For a Vite front end, you'll navigate to your IP address on port 5173. For Create React app, it's typically going to be port 3000, and your backend API is almost always hanging out on port 5000. Swap in your unique IP address, and you are totally good to go.
Now, what if you followed all the steps, but it's still, just not working? Let's rapid fire through some common troubleshooting fixes. If the app loads but the API fails, double check that you actually replaced every single instance of localhost with your IP in that front-end code. If Vite is totally refusing to load on your phone, go back and ensure you actually use that -host flag in your terminal when you started it. And if you have absolutely no access at all, check your firewall again to ensure those specific ports, 3000, 5000, and 5173, are actively unblocked. So the crucial point here is to always ensure both devices are on the exact same Wi-Fi network and that the designated ports are completely free and clear of any firewall restrictions. And there you have it. You have successfully mastered these 10 steps for MERN setup, literally breaking your app out of localhost and setting it free onto your network. You can finally test properly on mobile and actually share your hard work with anyone on the same Wi-Fi, which honestly leaves just one question. Your MERN app is finally on the LAN, so what are you going to build next to show off? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning and have an absolutely fantastic time coding.